Okay, this is the last video and we're going to look at creating a box plot after determining our measures of spread. So hopefully you've already had a go at finding your measures of centre, and when I click on these you should be able to see that we've done exactly the same as we did previously, finding the mode, the median, and remembering our mean is found using the average. Now our mean value has quite a few decimal places, so you might like to trim that off by just removing the number of decimal places by clicking along here. We make it a whole number so that it matches the rest of our data as whole numbers, or if you'd like to have just one decimal place, we can leave it at one decimal place. So now we want to put together our measures of spread, and we've already done the minimum previously, and we've done a median and a maximum. So really the only two we have to do are our quartiles, and once again Excel has a function for quartiles, so equals QUAR, and there it is there. Now when we put in the data that it's going to read, we once again have to highlight that it's this data here, but we also then have to tell Excel which quartile. So we write comma and then number 1 for the first quartile, and there it is there. And then similarly for the third quartile, QUAR, and up it comes. And again we highlight the data, comma 3 for the third quartile, enter. So now we have all our quartile data. We need to draw up a chart that's going to show us our box plot. Now unfortunately Excel does not have a box plot creator in part of its charts, so what we're going to do is use this data here and actually draw up our box plot just using some of the draw functions. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to highlight the data that we're going to plot, and we might as well highlight all of the data like that. So it's in the table. I'm going to go to insert, and we're going to go to a line chart, and we want to choose a line chart that has the markers on it. Now when we click on it we might get something extremely odd, which is what looks like we've got here, but what we want to do is if we end up looking like this, we just need to switch the column and the row around. So I'm going to use this button up here, and it's done what we wanted, which is lined up all of our data in one line like this. Now I want to try and make the biggest chart that I can, so I'm going to stretch this all out so it's as big as my screen will take me. So each one of these points represents, there's our maximum, my Q3, my median, my Q1, and my minimum. So that's all my data there, but it's just in a line, and I want to turn this into a box plot. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a box. So I go to shapes and I'm going to choose a box, and for starters I'm just going to put my box here, and I'm actually going to format my box. So I've right clicked, gone down to format shape, because at the moment if I use the box and I put it over my data points, I'm not going to be able to see what's going on. So I'm actually going to change the transparency to, let's make it about 60%, 60 or 70%. So I can still see that it's filled, but I can still see through it as well. Okay, so I'm just going to close out of that, and now you'll be able to see that my box I can actually see through. So I'm going to drag my box down. So remembering that the yellow dot and the red dot represent my Q1 and Q3. So if I move my box along, I want to set it up so that it's hopefully centered on that dot. Now if you're having trouble seeing, you can always make your picture a bit bigger, and then you can take a little bit more care in bringing this up so that's in the middle of that dot. Okay, so there's the beginnings of my box. I now need to put a few lines in to show the rest of my box plot. So I'm going to go back to insert, and I'm I'm going to choose the line shape, and I'm going to go to the middle of this point here and then up and connect it to this point here, like so. And there is my whisker line. This isn't quite centered, so I can again adjust it slightly, bring it over. Spend a bit of time trying to get it as close to as possible. Then a second line, again insert, shape, and my second line here, and drop it down to this value here. Oh, there we are. And then finally I need to put my median line in. So one more line, insert, shape, and the line is going to go across here. Now don't worry too much if you don't get it exactly through, you can always adjust it. And there's, I don't think that's quite straight. My median line there. So there's my box plot. All done. And if I put my mouse over the points, hop out of it like that, then I can read what those actual values are, which is quite nice. Okay, so now we have a box plot. You can see that we've got some very long whiskers, and you can discuss those whiskers and the shape of our box plot in your report. Well, that's it. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about Excel, and until next time, enjoy your maths.